We know who will be raining this weekend, but do we know where and when it will be raining? This week's deep dive may feature more terrible jokes like that, but will definitely feature the weather for this long weekend. And there's plenty going on in the build-up to the Coronation weekend as well. Thank you for joining us for this week's Met Office Deep Dive. It's exclusive to YouTube, so if you've not seen it before, make sure you hit subscribe and then you won't miss it. We love your comments, really do appreciate all the comments that come in every week. I just want to pick out a few actually from last time I was on. Andrew Hamilton, Jim Bobter 72, Paul Adam, Vanessa Markham, Tony Mason, Jay Lee, Matthew, Callum Potter, Phantom Menace and Odette Beauvoisin. Thank you for all your lovely comments. Really do appreciate them. And thank you for people who ask questions as well. Someone was asking about wind chill. We do mention wind chill a few times and when it's relevant, more in the autumn and in the winter. Suri Kurume, apologies for pronunciation, asked about El Nino as well and whether the potentially developing El Nino could have an impact on the UK weather. So that's something we will definitely take a look at. And we do want your comments or your suggestions if there's something you want us to cover on the deep dive. But yeah, just want to appreciate all the comments that do come in. As I say, Aidan and I do read them and we do really appreciate them. And please share the love. Quite a few of the comments coming in are, oh, I've just seen this, I've just caught up on this, I've just found this. So share the love. If you know someone who's interested in weather, meteorology or climate, then share the love. Let them know that we do this every Tuesday, this deep dive, because it's exclusive to YouTube. Right, let's get into it because, as I said, quite a big event happening this weekend. That will be the main focus for this deep dive. But even before then, there's plenty to get our teeth into. Beautiful satellite image. Every time I'm on, there seems to be a huge area of low pressure out in the Atlantic, and this one's been churning away. You can see there the weather patterns there, that big circulation. Let's just pause that and bring it back to the here and now. The latest. So this is the latest satellite image. You can see quite a lot of clouds spinning in, but that is quite high cloud. If we put on the visible satellite image, you can see it's not as strong. And zoom in a little bit. It is quite a cloudy day out there, but it's reasonably bright, and it's certainly a bit warmer than it was this time last week. And there are a few holes in the cloud. It's been a cracking day here down in the southwest. Seen some good holes in the cloud across northern Scotland also. But let's zoom out and take a look at the bigger picture. As we discussed earlier, there's a big circulation, a big swirl out here in the Atlantic, and that is, as you might have guessed, a big area of low pressure. Now that has just been sitting there for a while, and it's been sitting there for a while because of the position of the jet stream. The jet is diving down to the south and then arching up to the north. We call this an amplified jet. A more typical position of the jet would be straight across the Atlantic, sending low pressure systems towards the UK. But we've got this amplified jet pattern. I need to zoom out actually to get the full effect on it. It's so large. And when you have these amplified jets in these bits, we call these troughs, that's where the low pressures tend to swirl around. And then in these bits, the ridges, that's where high pressure often sits. And that's the pressure pattern we've got for the next couple of days. So high pressure dominating across the UK. A few showers here and there, but most places going to be dry for the next couple of days under the influence of high pressure. But we are going to start to see a change in our patterns as we go through the second half of this week. Let's fast forward to Thursday. And now you can see, well, you probably can't see because it's a bit messy. It's not as clear cut. The jet isn't really doing this. It's kind of, the bottom bit has broken off and is now pushing to the south of the UK, allowing low pressure systems to get closer. And we're no longer in that ridge. We are in what's called a transition phase, and we're going away from ridges of high pressure, and low pressure is starting to dominate. And as we go through that process, notice also the isobars are squeezing together, and what that means is that the winds will be picking up. So the breeze increasing. So for the next couple of days, the rest of Tuesday, Wednesday, most places dry, probably a bit brighter on Wednesday compared to Tuesday, a bit more in the way of sunshine. But from Thursday, we're going to start to see a change. As low pressure comes in, the jet is shifting our weather patterns, and low pressure usually means cloud and outbreaks of rain. So let's take a closer look at that, how that may look. As I said, the next couple of days, dry. That's Wednesday. I said dry. There will be some patchy rain across northern Scotland on Wednesday, but that tends to scoot away. Not as much cloud across England and Wales. more in the way of sunshine. But all the while, the breeze is starting to increase. And by the time we get to the start of Thursday, down here in the southwest, there's a line of rain coming in, and that is the first bit of rain coming in as that low pressure starts to dictate. And notice the easterly winds are starting to increase. Now, if you've been on the east coast the past couple of days, you'll notice it's been fairly chilly, but actually we'll start to see a shift in that tomorrow as the winds generally change direction slowly but surely, and that's going to have an impact on the temperatures. If we take, for example, Newcastle. So today, temperatures on that east coast struggling to get into double figures all the way up this eastern side, 8, 9, 10 degrees. Whereas tomorrow, the winds will shift. We'll see them turning lighter and southerly. So Newcastle jumping up to 14 Celsius, but then the easterly wind picking up once more on Thursday and temperatures dropping back off before gradually on the increase. Kind of similar story in Norwich, temperatures again trending upwards as we go towards the weekend. And in Hull, again, a bit of a dip on Thursday as that easterly wind picks up, and then temperatures on the increase as we'll start to lose that easterly wind into the weekend. So we will see that easterly wind picking up on Thursday, but then easing off for the weekend. And actually in eastern areas in particular, it is going to turn quite a bit warmer as we head towards the weekend. But that easterly wind will be quite interesting. It will be quite lively as it picks up during Thursday. Let's put the winds on. So that wind strengthening all the while, bringing in that cooler air from the North Sea, and it will be bouncing over the mountains. So actually some of the strongest gusts we'll see, let's have a look at those. Some of the strongest gusts that we'll see will be in western areas. So with an easterly wind, if we fast forward and show you Thursday and Friday's wind here, and we can zoom out. So if you zoom it to western Scotland, notice those winds really gusting up here, some spots just to the lee of the hills. With that easterly wind, we'll see gusts up to 40 miles an hour, perhaps, and something similar down across into Cumbria. So gusty winds picking up there on Thursday before dipping down on Friday. So that easterly wind will have quite different effects across the country, picking up, making quite a blustery day in the west on Thursday, and bringing a chill back to that east coast on Thursday also. Even though generally on Thursday most places will still be dry. If we take a look at the rainfall again, put on Thursday's chart, already seen this, the wet weather coming into the southwest, still a bit of patchy rain across the Northern Isles, but for a good chunk of the country, most of Thursday will be dry until this rain starts to push in from the west across Wales, Northern Ireland, but that's not till late in the day. So much of eastern England, although that wind will make it feel chilly, will be dry again on Thursday. But Thursday is really the day of transition. We start dry and bright, and then rain comes in from the west. And that is as that low pressure comes in because of that change, that shift in where the jet stream is going. Let's take a look then at the pressure chart for Friday. If we just fast forward that to the middle of Friday. By now, we've lost, the jet is now all over the place. It's now actually starting to come in a more classic position out from North America across the Atlantic, but it's pretty weak across the UK, so there's not a lot driving the situation. But what's happened now is that we've switched. We are now on the colder side of the jet. So the jet is effectively down here, and we are on the colder side of the jet, whereas before, if we bring it back to where we are now, with the jet stream arcing up like this, we are on the warmer side of the jet. But we have switched to the colder side of the jet by the time we get to Friday. So we're on the colder side of the jet. The air at lower levels hasn't shifted, hasn't changed too much. It's still quite warm and humid air at lower levels, but the air higher up is getting colder. And we can see that with this graphic here. And this is showing the temperatures around about 5 kilometres up through the atmosphere. That's the UK on a bit of a tilt. You can see there's a pool of cold air. We call this a cold pool that's higher up. So it's not low down. It's not necessarily getting colder low down, but because of the shift in the jet, we are seeing colder air coming in higher up. And if you think about it, you've got warm air down at the surface. If you introduce colder air ahead of it, then that warm air, it's going to rise anyway, but it's going to rise more rapidly because you've got the colder air aloft. And as you get that colder air coming in, the whole thing becomes more unstable. And this is a classic setup for an unstable atmosphere across the country on Friday. And unstable means air rushing up, rapidly developing big clouds, shower clouds and thunderstorms. And that is the recipe we've got for Friday. So we've got heavy showers developing on Friday. So after a largely dry couple of days, Tuesday, Wednesday, start to see some wet weather coming in some places on Thursday. Friday is all about the heavy showers. And this is a representation of Friday's heavy showers. You can see, hopefully you can see, the UK's here, and the spottedness, the brighter colours, the reds and the pinks are where we're going to see some heavy downpours. They're also kind of clumped into areas, as you might be able to tell, and actually quite a bit of the coastal areas not seeing these showers, and that's because these showers are being triggered by the temperatures over land. So the land surface temperatures warming up, sun's pretty strong at this time of year, and that warmer air, because we've got the colder air coming in higher up, will be rushing up. You don't get the same effect over the sea because the sea doesn't have that warmer air. It doesn't warm up the sea as quickly as the land. So classic at this time of year, the land warms up, the air rushes up and creates heavy thundery showers. And they're going to be in clumps, these showers, as you can probably pick out here. They're going to be in certain areas. So it's where we're going to get convergence, where the air is going to actually push together. The winds, generally speaking, are pretty light on Friday. If we go back to that, let's take a look at what the winds are doing on Friday. Take the rain off because that's a bit blobby. Take the cloud off as well. But the winds are pretty light across certainly the lands, so they're not going to see huge gusty winds blowing these showers along. So with light winds, it means the showers where they do form will be slow moving, and it also means local effects will have an impact. So where you get a sea breeze perhaps, or the topography, the way the land is, funnels the winds together, that helps to give it all a big push and helps to generate these heavy showers. So something to watch for on Friday: heavy, slow moving, thundery showers, potentially giving some problems across parts of the UK, but they're going to be very hit and miss. So it depends on these local effects. One place will get a real soaking, heavy, slow-moving downpour. 10 miles away, it could be completely dry, as is often the case at this time of year. So that's something to watch for Friday. Slow-moving, heavy, thundery showers. Okay, let's get on to the weekend, because there are a few events taking place. I don't know if you're aware. Let's have a look at the bigger picture first of all. Again, let's bring it back to, let's take the jet stream off initially. Let's take it to Friday. So we know we've got this low pressure moving in. We know we've got that cold pool moving in. What happens after that is actually, if we go through, because the jet stream's not particularly strong across the UK, there's not a lot of forcing, there's not a lot of significant goings on in the atmosphere. It's all reasonably quiet. And what actually happens is just this little fairly feeble looking low starts to drift in from the southwest, this little low pressure system in here. And that is the area we need to focus in on for Saturday. Saturday, Coronation Day, May the 6th, low pressure trying to push in from the southwest, but the weather elsewhere hasn't really shifted too far. So the atmosphere is still going to be ripe for showers on Saturday, but we do have to focus on this low in the southwest and exactly where that is going to bring some outbreaks of rain. So the most likely scenario is something like this for Saturday, with that low pressure coming in and bringing some outbreaks of rain into the southwest. Elsewhere there'll be bright spells, but watch out for heavy showers developing later on. Now there will be some kind of sweet spot before this rain comes in from the southwest. Ahead of that there'll probably be something dry. The air can't be going up everywhere, as meteorologists like to say. So there will be some drier zone ahead of this system coming in, but before you get to that showers. But exactly where will depend on the position of this low pressure and how quickly that comes in. Now this is what, 4 days ahead still? 4 full days ahead. So there is still a bit of uncertainty about this low, and part of that is because of what's going on the other side of the Atlantic. So let's just zoom out a little bit, because this is quite interesting. If we just pull out, keep your eyes on this low pressure system here. That's where it is on Saturday. But I'm going to go back in time now, bring it back to the present. So if I just rewind, you can see that low starting off out here in the Atlantic on Friday. Pull it back again, and now it's, oh, did I go that too quickly? There it is on Thursday. So let's just scroll through that again. It moves there, comes back on Thursday. It's here, out in the middle of the Atlantic. Wednesday, it's there. And if we rewind it all the way back to time of recording, you can see that that low pressure is just off the coast of Newfoundland at the moment, at time of recording. Now, if we pull out and take a look at what's going on in the United States and put the jet stream on, then it's this little dip in the jet stream that's really crucial. That's what's going on at the moment, and that's where the meteorologists upstairs here in the Met Office are keeping a close eye on developments, because it's what's going on way up in the sky above the Great Lakes, or actually just to the west of the Great Lakes, and how this jet streak interacts with this area of low pressure. Because if we just play through the sequence, you can see that actually that dip in the jet picks up this area of low pressure and pushes it across the Atlantic. But as it does so, it's actually fragmenting a little bit, and it's getting a bit wibbly wobbly. It's not as clear cut. It's not really obvious. They see that little kink in it almost there. And that will be crucial to the development of that low as it comes all the way across the Atlantic and affects the big day on Saturday. So exactly how that plays out will determine how quickly that low pressure system and that rain arrives into the southwest. So that's why there's a bit of uncertainty over the next couple of days as that jet is pushing that low pressure along. And it comes up towards the UK. Well, let's fast forward. It's going a bit slow for me, that. Let's fast forward it, and it comes up towards the UK and approaches the UK on Saturday. So that is what we'll be keeping a close eye on over the next 24 to 48 hours, how that jet streak breaks into that, or pushes that low pressure system along, and how it develops it and how it intensifies it as it comes up towards the UK. Now, having said all of that and all that's got to go on, there's actually reasonable agreement at the moment between what's going to happen. Now, I just checked this when I first came into the studio, and I didn't realise that it was going to look pretty messy. So this may not be very clear. You may have to take this from me. Simon will take it full screen in a second, but hopefully you can see that comparing the two main computer models, this is the EC model, the European model, and this is the Met Office model for Saturday at midday. And actually they're in reasonable agreement. If we go full screen on this, you can see that low pressure systems are down to the southwest, and the rain, the blue dots and the green dots, in a pretty similar position. So given what's got to happen, and given all the developments across the Atlantic and across North America, all that interaction that's going to happen over the next 4 days or so, there's actually reasonable agreement. So we're reasonably happy that the weather patterns on Saturday will be seeing some rain coming into the southwest, and ahead of that there'll be that mixture of sunshine and showers, but the showers won't be as widespread, won't be as intense as they will be on Friday. Whether that rain gets to London, and the timing obviously will therefore be crucial. And so that is still open to doubt, because as you can imagine, with all that going on, it could be 6 hours faster, it could be 6 hours slower. So that's what we'll be firming up on the detail of over the next couple of days. But certainly plenty of interest on Saturday's weather for various reasons, but particularly meteorologically because of all those developments. And it's going to be fascinating to see exactly how it plays out. But broadly speaking, what we know about Saturday is that there will be some wet weather coming in from the southwest. Elsewhere, there'll be some dry and bright weather, some fine weather, but there will also be a few showers developing. So if you've got plans for Saturday, just be prepared. It's not a big area of high pressure, not going to be dry and sunny everywhere. Just make sure you've got some plans in case there is some rainfall, and please do keep up to date with the forecasts here at the Met Office. We're going to be constantly doing that over the next few days. As I said, there's an awful lot of interest, so we'll be updating our forecasts all the time. Make sure you're following us right across social media, and of course there'll be the 10-day trend tomorrow, which Aidan will cover this once more and look beyond that. So that is, broadly speaking, Saturday's weather. After that, let's take the jet stream off. Fast forward to, so that's Saturday's messy picture, this low coming in from the southwest, low up there. If we go forward to Sunday, actually what happens is that low comes in, but it kind of fizzles out. There's, again, fairly weak patterns across the UK, and that's mostly because the jet stream is not really doing much. It is trying to push in again from the Atlantic, and that's what we'll see as we go into Monday. So the jet stream is getting back in this more classic position, bringing in low pressure systems and weather fronts, and they're all now a little bit further north, whereas they were a little bit further south. So we've had these south shifted jet for much of, well, it seems like most of spring actually, but getting back to a more classic position. So that will bring weather fronts in during Monday in from the west. So Sunday is another day of heavy showers across the country. Again, dodging the downpours. Coastal areas may not be too bad. But I did want to show you on Sunday as well, actually, before I stop, before I forget. Actually, yeah, that's going on there. Sunday's messy. Now, They're showers, basically. Heavy showers, could be almost anywhere. Northern Scotland, though, may not do too bad. Maybe largely dry and fine across northern Scotland. I'll centre that up a little bit on Sunday. But elsewhere, heavy showers breaking out. But also want to point it out, the winds, again, potentially coming in from the North Sea. And this is a lot of low clouds, so har and fret. Perhaps affecting parts of the east coast on Sunday, whereas other coastal areas down to the southwest may do okay for dry and bright weather on Sunday. But showers elsewhere, and then on Monday it's a case of watching weather systems coming in from the Atlantic. Probably a dry start in the east before wet weather from these weather systems out here comes in during the course of Monday. So the weather is chopping and changing quite a bit over the course of the weekend. As I say, please do keep up to date with the latest forecasts. I was going to show you this. This is the European model for Monday, but again, it's probably a bit too messy. This is showing a weather front coming in. Low pressure now up here, so further north. The jets shifted further north. Low pressure coming in, and a more classic setup with a band of rain swinging in from west to east. So just a question of timing of that rain when it comes in as to where we see rainfall on Bank Holiday Monday itself. So broadly speaking, as I said earlier, if you've got plans, whatever you're doing, if you've got a street party, just make sure you've got a plan for rain and keep up to date with the forecast, because nowhere looks completely immune at this range. We'll know more. We'll firm up on the details day by day as we get closer to those days. But this is the broad pattern. Rain in the southwest on Saturday, elsewhere sunshine and showers. Sunshine and heavy slow-moving showers on Sunday, and then a band of rain coming in on Monday. But all the while, it is pretty mild. Let's have a look at the temperatures as we go. We've already touched on this, but temperatures generally rising. 15, 16 there in Hull, Birmingham, steady 16, and then 17 through the course of the weekend. Belfast, that bit of a dip as that easterly wind picks up. So even here, even in Belfast, you get that easterly wind that's going to have an impact. So that dip here is quite noticeable before temperatures back up 15, 16 degrees Celsius. So close to average, really, for the time of year. So it's not going to be particularly chilly, but of course, 15, 16, the sun is strong at this time of year. So if you get in the sun, then it will feel quite a bit warmer as we go through the weekend. So it will be a case of dodging the showers, getting the sunshine, feeling quite pleasant. But, you know, nowhere is particularly cold. Cardiff is taking a bit of a drop off, but even that's 15 degrees Celsius. And if you take a look at Glasgow, again, that rise there because it's quite cool at the moment under more stubborn clouds. So generally speaking, we're talking for temperatures in the mid to high teens through the weekend. With a bit of sunshine, we could easily squeak up to 20 Celsius on almost any day. So it's not going to be cold, and it is certainly going to be warmer than the last coronation. Who remembers that? Well, it was 70 years ago, so not many of us. But look at this. These are the weather stats from the past 4 coronations going back over 100 years. 70 years since the last coronation, of course. That was on the 2nd of June, 1953. I was talking to my mum and dad about it the other day. They huddled round a TV. They said they went to go and find a neighbour's TV. Huddled round, it's black and white, and it was all a bit grey on the screen, obviously black and white, but the weather was also grey and damp. Look at how much sunshine there was, 1.2 hours. The previous 2 coronations, 0 sunshine recorded, but they were at least a little bit warmer. This is really remarkable. For the 2nd of June, 11.8 degrees Celsius was the maximum when Queen Elizabeth was coronated. That is 10 degrees almost lower than the June average. So a remarkably chilly, disappointing day for Queen Elizabeth's coronation. So we know it'll be warmer than that at least. And as I say, there should be some brighter spells, and hopefully London for Saturday might just be in that sweet spot ahead of that rain coming in. Beyond that, the weather patterns, this is giving probabilities of different flavours of weather in this chart here. The blues being with the southerly tracking low pressure systems, as we've seen. They're taking over Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. So showery but not cold. We've got the reds, these initial stripes for the next couple of days with that high pressure. The prospects into next week, well, there's a lot of blue on that chart, suggesting the weather patterns are going to be more mobile, more changeable as we go through next week, and not particularly warm, but equally not particularly cold, with those dark blues suggesting more of a northwesterly pattern. But it's not a strong signal by the time you get to Tuesday. Obviously blue is stronger than the reds. as I say, suggesting more mobile weather patterns, but none of those blues particularly dominant through next week. But for more on next week, Aidan will have the 10-day trend tomorrow. Again, that is on YouTube. We also put it on Facebook. But if you love your meteorology, I say share the love, spread the word, make sure you hit subscribe, and then you won't miss a forecast. Again, please do keep up to date with the details as we get towards the big weekend, whatever your plans are, and we will, of course, keep you updated as best we can, but just highlighting there some of the things that we will be looking at in detail. Please do keep your comments coming in as well, and say any suggestions you have for what we could cover on this deep dive. But that's about it, I think, for this week. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon.